Now look what you've done." Her father's brow was furrowed as he fussed nervously with the bed sheets. Zoe's mother gestured shakily for him to stop. "It's okay, Harry. You worry too much. I'm glad she's here. Really. Go and get me some juice. I want to talk to my daughter." "You'll be all right?" he asked. "Yes," she smiled, but it was tight and dry. He left like a schoolboy on an errand, eager to please. Zoe sat down. "So tell me," her mother said, "what's going on in the outside world?" Her voice was weaker now that her husband had left, as if her strength were a show for his sake, to comfort him. Once again Zoe thought, I can't worry her with the tales of teenage prowlers, but will Dad listen? "What's going on between you and your father?" Zoe was startled into raising her eyebrows. "Nothing." No, that was dumb. On second thought, it was accurate. "Nothing?" "Really." Zoe slumped into the chair, chewing on her lip, wondering how much she could say. "Out with it." Zoe took a deep breath. "We never talk. He's never there. When he's home, he's too tired to talk. It's like living with a robot. You're both here. I'm there. I'm lonely. There's no one to talk to." God, she sounded selfish. There's no one to talk to whine. Whine. Her mother glanced away, fiddling nervously with a tissue. "Don't you ever talk about me?" "He says that everything will be all right, or we'll talk about it later. Honestly, Mom, it came out in a rush. I don't feel like everything will be all right." Her mother looked like she was about to say something, but changed her mind. She was silent for a while, her eyes closed, until Zoe thought she had fallen asleep. "What about Lorraine?" she finally asked. "Huh? To talk to." "Oh, Mom, you don't know?" And it all tumbled out about Lorraine moving, or of never seeing her, of missing her so much. A nurse came in and interrupted to inject something into the flow from the IV bag, while Zoe looked nervously in the other direction. She couldn't speak until the nurse had left. Her mother's eyes closed again, but she squeezed Zoe's hand once in a while to show she was listening. It felt so good. Once she said, "I'm so sorry, my love," and once, strangely out of sequence, "I'll speak to your father about it." Then she was truly asleep. Zoe gazed at her, some sorrow building in her throat. She looked tiny and pale and crumpled. Before this, her mother's dying had been a possibility. People with cancer died. It was something Zoe worried about, had imagined a million times, but it still seemed distant somehow. There had always been a vague hope. Now, looking at her mother, so transparent and small, she knew for the first time that it was inevitable. Her father came in and joined her in silent contemplation of the sleeping woman. She glanced at him. His eyes were tender. He held fruit juice in his hands as carefully as he would the water of life. Maybe I'm wrong, Zoe thought. Maybe she's stronger when he's around because of the strength of his love. "I'll walk you downstairs," he said, putting an arm around her. They went in silence, but she was used to that. Down in the lobby, he pointed to a pair of armchairs. "Let's sit for a few minutes." He closed his eyes and squeezed the bridge of his nose with the thumb and forefinger. Then he spoke. "I'm not going to preach to you about skipping school this time. Goodness knows things are rough for you right now. But I'm counting on you to carry on as usual, even if we aren't there to be in charge. It's one less thing to be worried about." Great, she thought. What about my worries? Does he think I'm worried? Why doesn't he see I need to be here? But he was still speaking. "And perhaps it's best if you let us know you're coming next time, okay?" Anger swelled in her. Why was he locking her out? "No, it's not okay. It's like you want to keep her all to yourself, and don't want to let me in at all. It's like you wish I never existed, so you wouldn't get your time with Mom interrupted. I wonder if you ever really wanted me at all." She felt sick saying it. It was unfair, and she knew it, but sometimes she really felt that way, and now it was said. Her father looked at her with confusion. She'd never yelled at him like that before. She was ashamed at the hurt she saw on his face, and the spiteful power she couldn't help feeling. "But, sweetheart," he said, "you've got it all wrong. How could you think that? We don't want you upset, that's all. Mom hates not seeing you, but you need to be with Lorraine more, taking her mind off things." Compassion tempered her anger, and she spoke carefully and as if to a child. "What do you think it's like waiting at home, never knowing, waiting for the phone to ring? This isn't the sort of thing you take your mind off easily. It's not like a test at school or a visit to the dentist." Her hands were clutched beside her, knuckles white with the grip, as she tried to contain the fear she felt at speaking her mind. "Yes, it upsets me, but I've got to be a part of this. I am part of this. Do you think this doesn't need me anymore?" She was dismayed to hear her voice tremble. Her father sighed. "Yes, she needs you. She needs you all the time, but sometimes she can't bear you to see her this way. See her at the time she chooses. Please, though, for the sake of her dignity." Zoe remembered her mother's embarrassed apology. It's Mom who doesn't want me here, she thought miserably. Don't either of you love me anymore, she said. There was a brief flicker of pain on her father's face. There is no profit in arguing, he said, trying to pat her shoulder. Zoe wrenched her shoulder away. You're right. She pushed herself from her chair and headed for the doors. She hadn't gotten anywhere. She still couldn't visit her mother when she wanted, and damn it, she hadn't even told them about the boy. I made it worse, she told herself, all the way home on the bus. I only wanted to ask what to do, and made it worse. Poor Dad, he didn't even know that I was angry, until it burst out. They'll never let me back there now. The house loomed cold and uncomforting, no longer safe. The rose by the front gate was withered and brown. She thought about magic again as she lay on her bed and stared at the ceiling. If only there were some magic she could perform to stop her mother dying. If only she could put things right and make things how they used to be. If only, she muttered to herself derivatively, and sat up. Who do you think you are, God? But the idea of magic had unlocked something. She pulled her notebook from her desk drawer and scribbled down lines furiously with a black felt tip pen. She would worry about organizing later. She let the words come. Then she went back and changed, deleted, and added. She forged the thoughts into form, the spells, the rites, the magic of life. Finally, she was satisfied. She had a poem. Spells against death. She then fell asleep on top of the covers, her notebook clutched to her chest. When she woke, she was surprised at how much time had gone by. It was after 3 already. Thinking she should eat something, she went downstairs. After a nervous glance out the back door window, she looked in the refrigerator. There was no milk, which meant she couldn't have cereal, so she settled on yogurt. She took it into the den and ate on the couch with her feet tucked under her, while she watched cartoons on television with the sound turned down. Lorraine called just after 3:30. Why weren't you at school? Zoe didn't feel like explaining. It was too complicated. I was sick. Lorraine didn't even question it. I can't come over this evening, she said. I'm stuck packing and labeling. The movers are coming tomorrow. A couple days on the floor in a sleeping bag, and we're off. Zoe didn't like the way Lorraine was starting to sound excited. Is that all you can talk about? It came out before she could help it. There was silence on the other end of the line. Her cheeks stung with embarrassment. The embarrassment made her angrier. I mean, all you talk about is yourself. Zoe, I phoned to find out how you were, came Lorraine's stricken words. Oh, I thought you phoned to tell me all about your great move. Well, I wouldn't have called if I knew you were going to be a bitch, Lorraine said. I'll talk to you later, maybe. She hung up. Zoe replaced her receiver with trembling hands, the crash of Lorraine's phone still ringing in her ears. Why did I do that? What the hell was I doing? Hot tears scalded her face. The house felt even emptier, looming and hollow. I'll go get milk, she decided. I need fresh air. Walking didn't relieve the misery in her. However, I would like to do something drastic, she decided, and kicked a stone down the sidewalk in front of her. Something to make them notice me. She picked out more cereal at the store, as well as milk, and some vacuum cleaner bags. She was surprised when she stepped outside at how dark it had become above the streetlights.